Hi, and welcome to another episode of Words with Al. And we are going to continue on this journey of unraveling our common past. And um, so join me. So without further ado, let's begin. An introduction. The mainstream narrative assumes Latin influenced Albanian. However, breaking down Latin words using Albanian monosyllables suggests that many Latin words may have originated from an older Albanian-like language, which is what we will find, and we will find quite a lot, okay? So I'm going to divide this into several videos because otherwise they just become so long. So let's try to cut it down a little bit, but I still have a lot to say because they need to be explained. There is a lot of context, historical factors, just plainly external factors, and plus our common assumptions that drive our theories today have become a hindrance to understanding them. Okay, so without further ado, we go straight to father. Pater, padre, far, father, father, far, pat, at, atman, at, tata, and so on. Many, many, many words, but we find some meaning here. In its monosyllables, the root words, we find see, sees, seeing, and shows. Okay? And third means all, everything, and land, which is where we get terrain, territory, and the Latin word terra, which we will come later to, which means earth, but had that semantical shift because it meant everything. Okay. And we also see that the Albanian word at, father, is much more primitive form that not only aligns with the PIE root, but in fact contradicts it because the PIE root has two syllables. And that is an actual that is a more complex word. Our first words were not complex. They were easy. They were a childlike sound. Very easy. Ba, ba, ma, ba, ga, da. Right? So we didn't have pater like you see in the Proto-Indo-European. That is just insane. So our whole Proto-Indo-European reconstruction theory is a little bit we should be a little bit critical of it because it doesn't really we've allowed an AI to do what is intuitively and logically understood using the body. Since all these words, these sounds, because that's what we're looking at sound, all language is sound. If all these sounds mean something in their simplest form, then we're able to explain a lot of words and why we chose those specific sounds. Because our words were not made arbitrarily like science assumes today. So, what we are finding here is literally the roots that made up our common language. So this is not about English, Latin, Greek, Albanian anymore, but rather the European, the Indo-European. And you will see that we don't need the Proto-Indo-European reconstruction words because language is much, much more simpler than we made it to be. Okay. So let's go on with the word mater, mother, mom, uma, ana, ma, me. Many, many sounds here. And you have probably heard a lot of them too. But yes, in essence, we have ma, the one who gives, nurture, feeds, but also ma who holds. Ma is you're with it. Ma, but you're also holding it. Ma has a lot of a lot of semantics, okay? But mater means the holder of everything. So the one who nurtures and carries life. So again, back to the theory that we did not make words, our first words were not, did not have two syllables. They had one syllable, okay? So which brings us then to the root m. M is the root of mom, okay? And now you know what mom means. Mom means to carry, to nurture, because she is the nurturer. Okay, we have then the word aqua. Aqua also can be explained. The root word here is in fact ua. Ua is the root word, and ua means this life force, cool, where in moving. So aqua, the moving life force. That is pretty much what it means. The Albanian word uj is a newer version, but yes, uj, uj, ua, ua, which is where we also get water, or van, Wasser from German. I'm just throwing a lot of words here now. Swedish, Norwegian, Germanic. I know a lot of words. I speak a lot of languages. So this has become. I just didn't look at it from this perspective before, which is why it is quite a revelation to even me. I mean, to Albanians don't even know this. Okay. They do know that the Albanian language is a bit strange because it explains so many words, but they didn't really get what is happening here. And I think that we are just pretty much discovering it now. Okay. So, and then we have the word body, corpus, which we also then get the word trup. Now, the root here is trup, or tru, actually, because we find then the Germanic word and the Scandinavian word krop, which obviously is very close to the Latin one. The Albanian word for korp means a basket or something wooden, a wooden form, but it is in essence it is a vessel. Korp is a vessel. You could say that as well. Like it is something holding. But in the monosyllables we find true, brain, and up, or even ru, which means if we split this even further than t and ru, we then find to protect. So the brain is something you need to protect. Ru. And then you get probably the T. The T became a K, okay, a K, which is why we get the word krop. Okay, the Germanic krop. But this is what it means. It means a structured form that holds the mind. So that is the body. Okay, so very beautiful. Yeah. We will discover a lot of words together, and they will be obviously a little peek into the minds of our ancestors. Okay. Terra, I explained this earlier. This means earth in the Latin language, or the old, but it stems from all, or within it, within that word, we find several semantics. And we find, and this is actually the root word for all the accompanying words that later, like territory, terrain, there are words as well, but and we will discover even more, okay? But in essence, we find then that pulls, attracts, gathers, and ra falls, descends, so that which gathers and holds everything. Tara. Tara. Rata. Right. Rat. Yeah, oh my god, rat means also flat. Oh my god, yeah, I never thought about it. See? Rat. Rat means lying down, so it's flat. Right. Okay. See, this is what we also, it's very difficult because the linguistic development happened differently in different places. So in Germany, it happened differently, like the buildup of words, the order they chose, whether they chose them, well, you will see why what I'm talking about, because sometimes you have to like rearrange the words to then get the actual explanation, and then sometimes you have to just read it the opposite way, and sometimes it's just straightforward. And that indicates different time periods or different places, different countries and different languages, and how they chose to rearrange their sounds to make a cohesive a word for the idea they wanted to convey. Okay. I hope that you're still with me. So let's continue. Lingua. I'm just talking and talking, but that's because there's so much to say here. I just don't want to throw these out as if it didn't have any context, because it does. It does have a lot of context. Lingua means lingu, give birth from the tongue, and which is why we also find all other words with language gu, land. So the land gu. So uh, the land indicating where, and then gu with the speech, so language. Okay. Then we have the famous word cogni, which means kok ni. Okay. And this literally explains also the word, because we find, obviously, from cogni, we find cognitive, cognition, recognition, etc., etc. But cognizance, right? We find many words here, but in essence, this means head and then feel or sense. So to feel with the brain, awareness, understanding. Ta-da! And this is something that the Latin language, or even Italians today, just can't explain. Then we have the word imago, imagi, and it literally means it hold things, or I hold things even. Um, yeah, because language went under many linguistic developments, right? So, well, I'm not going to go into that, but in essence, what it means is that there was sometimes it was used, I was used as objective, but also it had gender in it. It could be also she or he. So he holds things, or it holds things, or she holds things. Okay, but it is something. Something is held. It is not a representation of something real, but rather an image, something that is held, pertaining or being a facade of the thing, so an image. Okay, now this is the name of our actual continent, Europe, Europa, Europa, and we find many different variants there, or people talking about it um, in various ways, because they don't see, they haven't seen this. That's pretty much it. But we find a lot of different theories regarding the origin of this name, but nobody has divided it and seen what we get. So this is what we get. We find which is darkness, cloudy. Upa, Err-u-pa. Err-u-pa means literally the land where darkness or clouds are seen. Okay, clouds, re-upa. Re-upa means also clouds are seen. So it's a cloudy place. And do remember that Europe was very cloudy when it was discovered. It was mainly forests, and there was a lot of water there, so it was raining constantly. It was not like the dry Middle East and Africa that we left. Um, yeah, okay. And then we have the word divinitas, divinity, divine, and all these beautiful things. They come from, obviously, the word to divine, the act of dividing, but in its monosyllables, this is what we get. We get di, vi, n, ta, di. you can both say ti or ta, and you will still get to the same thing, which is that know the way to him, to you, or to yourself, or to God. Okay? Because you, life, God were one in their perception. There was no, obviously, there was the religious spirit, body, and mind, right, that emerged later on. But those ideas are very ancient. Our ancestors knew that there was a spirit, and that there was a body, and that there was a mind, and that this spirit was inhabiting this world of two hemispheres that represented that whole reality that they perceived through their senses. Okay, so now that was a big idea, right? Let's say that again. Our ancestors knew that there was spirit, and the spirit was life and God, and that this spirit is trapped in form that has a psyche. So we have the form and the psyche creating the body and reality that is perceived through the senses. Okay, right. So, to know his way back, to know the way back to you, or to know the way back to God. Yeah, that is what this word means. The divine, my love, find the truth. Okay, now I'll go on. We have the word inertia. Inertia means immobile, or like you're stopped, you're inert, you can't move, you're in dark. Like, yeah. Well, this is what we get from the actual words. We get inside the stillness, unmoving, or inside darkness. Because air is again the same as in Europe. Erti. Erti means just cloudy, whilst air means clouds. Yeah. So that's a singular form, and then there is the object. Yeah. But this is what we get. Inside darkness. So inside darkness, you can't move, right? You just don't know where to go. Okay. And the reason why this is clearly not a Latin word, because we don't find the word without in. We don't find only ertia. Okay? Because we know that the Latin invented in or im to represent the opposite. It was a grammatical structure that was added to the language to convey a message. So impossible, possible, right? Inertia, finite, infinite. The in represented the opposite. But in this case, we don't find the word Ersha, which means that this word is fully Albanian. The Albanian monosyllables, they were also used by all others. But this is a bit later in time. This means that this actually either came prior to Rome or after Rome, like much, much later. But that the Albanian language was still used here. Okay. Now then we have the word theater, 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 or in Norwegian, theater, 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 theatre, right? And these, if you just slowly and read this word slowly in Albanian, you get theater. Again, ter is used here, right? But this time it is representing all. So this place, the place where all unfolds, this is what theater means. Ter again is coming from terra, terrain, right? So remember that we're indicating a place, and then this is where everything happens. Okay. So now you got theater. Now we have the word amen. Amen, my love. And amen. 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 We have a lot of different, depending on from what language you're saying it from. But let's split it. And what we find is he, it, the divine, with us. He is with us, or God is with us. And it is pronounced amen. 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 Okay, so he amen. So you who speak Albanian will know this, and it will just sound ridiculously because you've never heard it in this way before. It's just crazy how much pronunciation just changes everything. The moment we pronounce something differently, then it just becomes a different language suddenly. Okay, so now we have the word scandal. Scandal means literally there is not stopped or halted. Was not stopped is not to be let out. Skandal, not like scandal is it should not go out. A scandal, they weren't able to stop it. Okay. So I put the the symbol here of a rumor going around this social sign. So I've chosen these a bit like randomly, but try to be like as precise here. Then we have the word possible. At first I was like, nah, I won't be able to find any more like any explanation here, but then I did because, but I see I removed B here, but B should have been here as well, but it's not needed. And because it's like almost becomes silent B. Okay. Possible. 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 I should probably have included B there because it is still B means doing. So or being. So po, yes, is affirmative. Si, sees, right? She. B, do, and le, emerge, come forth, or give birth. So possible is seen born. When I see something being born, I can imagine it. It is possible. So there you go, my loved ones. This is not something you can find or will hear every day. Okay. So let's go and continue. This is also an amazing and beautiful word. We see here literally eternity, eternitas, eter. And this word actually is very, very ancient because we see this very old. Like it's well, you will understand why. Well, we find the Nordic ones becoming like almost this seemingly very different because we see ether, aether, ether, esir, asir. And this okay, I will explain the Nordic ones in a different one, but this it pretty much pertains to these again because the word the Albanian this one becomes then an or even an the a with an e. Okay, but it means his all, God's all, because God was perceived to be outside of time, outside of sense perception, because sense perception only existed in time, and God was timeless, so God did not exist in time. Okay. Then we have the word sul, sol, sol. Okay. And also here we will find the monosyllables giving us le sho. Le sho, le so means is seen born. Is seen born. What is being seen born? The sun. The sun is always seen born, right? It's also always seen falling, but it is also seen. Right. Just laughing with myself. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of self-irony. Okay. So veritas, we have then the word veritas, which we get to put it, yours, or belonging to, is that which is placed and belongs to you. Okay? That is pretty much veritas. Tas veri. Veri means to give. Yeah, to give also the or the place. Ver. It means the place. Veritas, his place, God's place, and the all, because God was always perceived as the all. God was not divisible, because you couldn't devise. Religion divided God, but God was not divisible. That's not how the truth was perceived. And this is also what we see in the Albanian word, where we get that which is placed and belongs to him, God, or all. Okay. Vita, life, vita, but we also find the word dita, which means day and light and awareness, or knowledge even, dita, tadi. But this is tavi or vita, where we then get the path that comes to you, the path that is yours, or the path that belongs to all. Okay, so that is life. Remember that God, life, and all are synonymous. They mean the same thing here. They didn't divide the all, life, and God. That's inseparable. Okay. And then we have tempus. Okay. Tempusitem, temipus, which means my container, my well. Pus is actually then the word that later became pond. Pond. So it is my pond. It is my container of how long I've been here, my time. And then we have the word lux. Lux. Like in the beginning, you wouldn't probably. This is where we also get then the Germanic word and the Scandinavian lys, lys, and then which then becomes light, light. But see, selu, selu means literally, or zilu, zi, zizi, ziz means to sparkle, ziz. So, and lu means to move. So, moving sparkle. That is light. And then we have mors, more, where we then get the words mortal, more, mortum, um, morbid, everything that has to do with death, right? Okay. Now, but this is also very close to amor, amor, my love. But so you will see why. And the reason why is because more means to take, or grabs. Mer, mar, more. All those words are within taking, taking something. And what is being taken here? Life is being taken here. So that which takes. Okay. But then amor means also is being taken, but it's in a different form. But it is very close to death here. So love is a death also because you're surrendering to love. Right. And then we have the word bellum, belum, belum. Okay, this means to make filth. God, I see now that I have done this wrong, but it's supposed to be le and not le. So not lum, but lum. Lum. Okay, bellum, which means war. But it means also to make destruction or make filth. So that pretty much explains what war is. It is filth. And then we have the word fortune, fortuna. And this is quite a new word, which is why we can pretty much use the words that we know that are very close to it. And they are then for force, forza, force, and tune for tune, obviously. So the strong tune, your strong tune, what is resonating with you. That's also why I chose this music. So this is your song, your fortune. So yes, let's take the last one. And we have then the word reg, reg, regnum, regnum, re, re. To rege means to hit something, to control something, to regulate. We even get the word regulate here from here. And regul, rule. But this is what we get. Rule with us or rule with me. Which explains pretty much what is happening here. So that concludes our little journey for now. So thank you very much for listening. Have a good evening and see you the next time. Cheers, guys.